The morning sun spilled softly over the small bamboo house, painting everything in gold. The sound of roosters echoed across the hills, and the wind carried the sweet scent of wet soil. Huyen stood by the window, holding a bowl of warm water, her eyes lost somewhere far away. Life had finally become peaceful again. After so many storms, she and Dee had built a life of quiet simplicity, planting vegetables, taking care of Maya, and sharing laughter under the soft light of dusk. But lately, Huyen's heart carried a secret, one she didn't yet know how to share. A few days ago, she had realized that something was changing within her. She felt tired more often, her heart racing whenever she smelled boiled rice or saw the morning mist curling above the fields. And deep inside, she knew she was carrying new life. Huyen placed her hand gently on her stomach, her eyes glistening with both joy and fear. "What will Dee say?" she whispered. She imagined his face, the kind eyes that had seen her through pain and hardship, the quiet man who always put others before himself. Would he be happy? Or would he worry about money, about the future, about whether he could take care of another life in this fragile world? Outside, Dee was chopping wood, his voice calling Maya to help him tie the bundle. The sound made Huyen's heart ache with tenderness. She wanted to tell him. She wanted to share this miracle. But when she stepped outside, the words melted away on her lips. Dee looked up and smiled, wiping the sweat from his brow. "You're up early today, Huyen," he said warmly. "Are you feeling better?" Huyen nodded, forcing a smile. "Yes, I just couldn't sleep much." Dee didn't notice the trembling in her voice. He simply handed her a cup of warm tea, his eyes full of quiet affection. As she took the cup, her hands brushed his. For a moment, the secret burned inside her, like sunlight trapped behind the clouds. She wondered how long she could keep it. That afternoon, the rain began to fall softly, the kind of drizzle that lingered over the fields like a lullaby. Huyen sat by the window, mending Maya's torn school bag. Each stitch she made felt heavier than the last. The small secret inside her grew larger with every heartbeat, and so did her fear. Dee was outside fixing the old motorbike, his hands stained with oil. Occasionally, he would look toward the house, smiling whenever he saw Huyen watching him. He had no idea that her heart was racing for reasons far beyond the sound of rain. When evening came, the three of them gathered around the dinner table. The warm scent of ginger soup filled the air. Maya was talking about school, about how she had shared her lunch with a friend who forgot hers. Dee listened with pride glowing in his eyes, occasionally glancing at Huyen, who sat quietly, lost in thought. "Huyen," he said gently, "you look tired lately. Are you feeling unwell?" She froze for a moment, the spoon trembling slightly in her hand. "I'm fine," she said softly, trying to smile. "Just maybe a little tired from work." Dee reached across the table, his voice filled with concern. "Don't overwork yourself, okay? You've already done too much for all of us." Those words, kind, warm, full of care, pierced her heart. Tears pricked the corners of her eyes. How could she tell him that soon? There would be another life depending on them, another small heartbeat waiting to join their fragile happiness. That night, as the rain continued tapping against the roof, Huyen lay awake beside Dee. The house was dark except for the faint glow of the oil lamp. She could hear Dee's calm breathing, steady, peaceful, like a lullaby. Slowly, she turned toward him, her hand reaching out to touch his arm. Her lips parted to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Not tonight, she thought. Not yet. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. Huyen pressed her hand over her stomach and whispered a silent promise to the tiny life within her. Soon, I'll tell him. When the time is right. The next morning, the sky was painted in shades of gold and pale blue. The storm had passed, leaving behind the scent of wet earth and fresh beginnings. Dee was already outside, preparing to go to the field. His laughter echoed through the yard as he played with Maya, pretending to chase her around the small guava tree. Huyen stood by the doorway, one hand resting on her belly, the other holding a cup of warm tea. Watching them, her heart swelled with love and fear. Every smile, every small joy, made her secret feel both more precious and heavier to bear. Mom, Uncle D caught me. Maya giggled, her hair wet with morning dew. Dee turned to Huyen, smiling. You see, our little Maya's getting faster every day. Soon she'll outrun both of us. Huyen smiled, but it was faint, a smile that carried something hidden beneath. Dee noticed. He always noticed the small things about her. How her eyes softened when she was happy, or how she bit her lip when something weighed on her mind. Huyen, he said quietly when Maya ran off to play with the dog. Is something bothering you? You've been so quiet lately. Her heart skipped. The question she had been dreading. No, she said after a pause, her voice gentle. I'm just thinking about the future. Dee chuckled softly. The future? You mean Maya's school? Or our small farm? She nodded, forcing a smile. Yes, something like that. He stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Whatever happens, we'll face it together, okay? You and me, we've come this far. We'll keep going. The warmth in his words nearly broke her resolve. She wanted to tell him everything right there. About the life growing inside her. About the hope and the fear tangled in her chest. But then Maya ran toward them, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers. For you, Mom, and for Uncle D. Dee laughed and lifted Maya into his arms. Huyen took the flowers, her eyes glistening. For now, she thought, maybe it's enough, just to see them like this. But inside, she knew she couldn't keep her secret forever. As Dee carried Maya inside, his laughter echoing through the house, Huyen whispered to herself, her voice trembling in the quiet morning air. Soon, Dee, I'll tell you everything. But please, let fate give me the right moment. That evening, a soft rain began to fall again. The sound of it against the roof was calm, rhythmic, like the steady beating of a heart. Inside the small bamboo house, the oil lamp flickered warmly, casting gentle shadows on the walls. Dee sat at the wooden table, fixing Maya's small toy while humming an old folk tune. Huyen was cooking in the kitchen corner, the scent of ginger and rice filling the room. The scene was so peaceful that for a moment, it felt as if all the storms in their lives had finally passed. But inside Huyen, a storm was still brewing. Her hands trembled slightly as she stirred the pot. The secret she had kept for days was pressing harder on her chest, demanding to be spoken. Dee, she finally said softly, her voice barely audible over the rain. He looked up, smiling. Yes, Huyen. She hesitated. Her throat tightened. There's something I need to tell you. Dee put down the toy and turned fully toward her. His eyes, gentle, patient, filled with concern, met hers. What is it? You look so serious. Her breath quivered. Dee, I think I'm pregnant. For a moment, silence fell. The sound of the rain seemed to fade away. Dee blinked, as if unsure he had heard her correctly. Then, slowly, a smile began to form, soft, genuine, and full of disbelief. Pregnant, he repeated, his voice trembling slightly. You mean, we're going to have a baby? Huyen nodded, tears already glistening in her eyes. Yes. I wasn't sure how to tell you. I was afraid. With everything we've been through, with the troubles still ahead. Before she could finish, Dee crossed the small room into steps and gently held her hands. Huyen, he whispered, his voice breaking with emotion. This is the best news I've ever heard. She looked up, startled by the tears in his eyes. You're not upset. Dee shook his head and smiled through the tears. Upset? Huyen, you've given me the greatest gift. After all we've lost, after all the pain, this means life is giving us another chance. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance, but inside their home, there was only warmth, the quiet, fragile warmth of love and hope reborn. Huyen leaned into Dee's embrace, feeling his heart beat strong and steady against hers. And for the first time in a long while, she let herself believe, maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of peace. The rain stopped at dawn. A thin mist wrapped the village, and soft rays of light spilled through the window, touching the wooden floor where Dee and Huyen sat quietly together. Maya was still asleep, curled up under her blanket with her teddy bear, her little chest rising and falling gently. Dee sat beside Huyen, holding her hand. The world outside was still and damp, but inside their home, there was warmth, the kind that came not from the fire, but from love that had weathered every storm. Huyen looked down, her eyes still shy and uncertain. Dee, I was scared, she whispered. When I found out, I didn't know how you'd feel. I thought maybe it would make things harder for us. You're already working so much, traveling far, trying to save every bit of money. I didn't want to burden you. Dee smiled softly, brushing her hair from her face. Huyen, you are not a burden. You and Maya are the reason I keep going. And now, this baby. His voice softened, breaking into a quiet laugh. This baby is proof that we still have a future. Even after everything, life still trusts us enough to begin again. Huyen's tears glimmered like morning dew. I don't know how I got so lucky to have you. He shook his head gently. No, I'm the lucky one. When I lost everything, I thought I'd never feel whole again. But you came into my life, and you gave me a family. You gave me hope. And now, he rested his hand lightly on her stomach. Now you're giving me another miracle. The moment was silent and sacred. Outside, a rooster crowed, breaking the quiet morning air. Huyen smiled faintly. Maya stirred awake, rubbing her eyes. Mommy, Uncle Dee, why are you both up so early? Huyen quickly wiped her tears and smiled. Good morning, sweetheart. Maya climbed onto Dee's lap, still half asleep. Uncle Dee, are you going away again? Dee kissed her forehead. Not today. My dear, today, I'm staying right here, with you and Mommy. Huyen looked at them, the man she loved and the child who was her world, and felt her heart swell. She had spent years surviving storms, but now, for the first time, she felt like she had reached safe shore. The wind blew softly through the window, carrying the scent of wet earth and new beginnings. Dee took Huyen's hand again and whispered, Let's promise, no matter how hard life gets, we'll stay together, all four of us. Four? Huyen smiled through her tears. Dee grinned, his hand still resting over her belly. You, me, Maya, and this little one. She laughed, a soft, trembling sound filled with joy. Outside, sunlight finally broke through the clouds. The world felt new again, fragile, imperfect, but alive. And in that small, humble home, surrounded by love and the sound of morning birds, Huyen realized that sometimes the simplest happiness is not in grand things, but in knowing that the one you love has come home, safe, and that love still has room to grow.